When people look at a map of Southeast Asia, they see nations filled with diverse religions: Buddhism in Thailand and Myanmar, Islam in Indonesia and Malaysia, Hinduism in Bali, and traditional beliefs in Vietnam and Laos. But there, in the middle of the archipelago called the Philippines, stands something unusual: a country that is overwhelmingly Catholic. In fact, more than 80% of its people identify as Roman Catholic. And this makes the Philippines the only predominantly Catholic country in all of Asia. How did this happen? Why is the Philippines so unique in its faith compared to its neighbors? To answer that, we need to go back centuries, to the time when Spanish galleons first sailed into these islands. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan landed in Cebu, bringing not only weapons and soldiers, but also missionaries. For Spain, conquering the Philippines was not just about territory, it was also about souls. Catholicism became one of the strongest tools of colonization. Churches rose in every town, friars controlled communities, and religion became deeply woven into Filipino life. Over 300 years of Spanish rule turned the Philippines into the most Catholic nation in Asia. But here's where it becomes interesting. Some ask, was Spain's rule a curse or a blessing in disguise? Colonization undeniably brought suffering. Forced labor, tributes, and abuses were widespread. Many Filipinos lived as subjects in their own land. Yet alongside the hardship, Catholicism gave Filipinos a unifying identity. The faith brought with it not just rituals, but also values of resilience, family, and hope. During times of oppression, Filipinos clung to their faith as a source of strength. Even today, Filipino Catholicism is unlike anywhere else. It is joyful, colorful, and deeply connected to community. Imagine the Simbang Gabi in December, when millions wake up before dawn to attend 9 days of Mass leading up to Christmas. Or the Feast of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo, where millions of devotees flood the streets in barefoot processions, shouting their prayers with tears in their eyes. It is not just religion, it is life itself. Some might say Spain gave the Philippines the greatest pain, but also one of its greatest gifts: a faith that binds its people together. Perhaps in a strange way, Spain was both conqueror and teacher, bringing something that would remain long after the empire crumbled. And then came the Americans. After Spain lost the Philippines in 1898, the United States took over. The Americans looked at the Philippines with curiosity, and sometimes with humor. They noticed the deep Catholic faith, the Spanish surnames, the fiestas, and the love for family gatherings that resembled Mexican traditions. That's when some Americans began jokingly calling Filipinos the Mexicans of Asia. And in many ways, it makes sense. Filipinos have Spanish last names like Santos, Cruz, Reyes, and Garcia. They eat food with Spanish influence like adobo, lechon, and menudo. They celebrate fiestas with marching bands, fireworks, and church processions. To an outsider, it feels like Latin America somehow landed in Asia. But instead of being an insult, many Filipinos laugh at this comparison because it's true, and because it shows how unique their culture really is. There are funny facts that make this story even richer. Did you know that Filipinos were technically connected to Mexico for over 250 years through the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade? Ships would sail across the Pacific, bringing silver from Mexico and sending back spices, silk, and goods from Asia. Because of this, many Filipino and Mexican families share not only names but also traditions. To this day, words in Tagalog sound strikingly similar to Spanish, and Filipino homes still display images of the Virgin Mary, saints, and crucifixes, just like in Mexico and Spain. Here's another true and funny fact. While most Asian countries eat with chopsticks, Filipinos inherited the fork and spoon from Spain and made it their own. Sit at any Filipino table, and you'll find families skillfully using spoon and fork to cut, scoop, and eat everything from rice to noodles to meat. Another? While many Asian countries bow as a sign of respect, Filipinos practice mano po, where they take an elder's hand and place it on their forehead, a gesture of both respect and blessing. It's not Catholic in origin, but Catholicism reinforced it with a sense of honoring elders. What makes this story even more heartwarming is how Filipinos took Catholicism and made it uniquely theirs. In Latin America, Catholicism can be solemn, filled with ritual and tradition. In the Philippines, it is alive, festive, and even playful. Imagine Christmas celebrations starting in September, lasting all the way to January. Imagine entire villages stopping everything to join fiestas honoring their patron saints, complete with parades, street dancing, and endless food. Faith in the Philippines is not just about Sundays. It is a daily rhythm, woven into the joys and struggles of life. Was Spain a blessing in disguise? That's a complicated question. For many, the centuries of colonization brought exploitation and loss. But for others, the Catholic faith has been a source of unity, comfort, and identity. Perhaps the truth is somewhere in between. Spain's colonization left scars, yes, but it also left seeds. Seeds that Filipinos nurtured and transformed into something beautiful. Today, Catholicism in the Philippines is no longer Spain's gift. It is the Filipino people's own treasure, carried proudly in their hearts. And yet, Catholicism in the Philippines is not just a reminder of Spain. It is also a testimony to the Filipino spirit. Because Filipinos did not just copy Catholicism, they made it Filipino. They sang their own songs in Mass, danced in their own fiestas, and mixed their native traditions with Spanish rituals. The result is a faith so alive that visitors from Europe and the Americas often say, "The Catholic Church is more alive in the Philippines than anywhere else." Even Pope Francis himself has said he admires the deep faith of the Filipino people. Every time he visits, millions flood the streets just to see him. When Filipinos migrate abroad, whether to Dubai, London, or Los Angeles, they bring their Catholic faith with them, filling churches that might otherwise be empty. In a way, Filipinos are keeping Catholicism alive in the modern world. And here's the heartwarming part. What started as colonization turned into connection. Today, Spain and the Philippines share a friendship rooted in this faith. Spanish churches still inspire Filipino architecture. Spanish saints are honored in Filipino towns. Spanish traditions live on in Filipino fiestas. And yet, it is no longer about colonizer and colony. It is about two nations connected by culture, history, and shared beliefs. The Philippines is the only Catholic country in Asia, but it is not alone. It carries with it centuries of history, millions of faithful hearts, and a joy that makes Catholicism something truly Filipino. Whether Spain was a blessing or a curse, only history can judge. But what cannot be denied is that the Filipino people turned that history into something powerful, something beautiful, and something uniquely theirs. So the next time someone calls Filipinos the Mexicans of Asia, laugh with them. Because in that phrase lies the truth of a culture that blends East and West, tradition and modernity, pain and joy. The Philippines may be the only Catholic country in Southeast Asia, but it carries a faith that belongs not to Spain, not to America, but to its own people. A faith that shines as brightly as the Christmas lanterns that fill its villages every December, and as warmly as the Filipino heart itself.